Hello world, it's me, a denominator. What'd you think of the accent? Was that too much? Somehow it's been nearly 3 years since the Super Mario Bros. Movie came out, and now we've got the Super Mario Galaxy movie on the way. As a matter of fact, by the time you see this video, it might already be out. Does that feel surreal to anybody else? I mean, of course, yeah, we could talk about the 90s Mario movie, which feels like a fever dream in and of itself, but that's more of a so bad it's funny kind of watch to me. I only really revisit it when I'm checking it out with my friends or just need something to laugh at. No, I'm talking about Illumination's Mario Bros. Movie, which, honestly, its existence feels just as bizarre to me. It feels like just a few years ago that we'd heard of Nintendo and Illumination's new partnership to create the world's first officially animated Mario film. And in some ways, that fact alone was more interesting than the movie itself. People were very mixed on this announcement. Yeah, we're finally talking about Illumination on this channel. Been a while since I've talked about anything movie or TV related, actually. Well, my 2 cents on this studio have certainly shifted drastically over the last couple of years, but nowadays I think they're fine. Just fine. But it definitely made sense at the time why Nintendo chose to collaborate with Illumination specifically. Nintendo has been known to cut corners on their products to keep costs down and their selling prices low. At least that's what they used to do. So working with a studio specifically known for animating movies as cheaply as possible definitely made sense at the time. I don't know if that's still their MO, but I honestly don't care about Illumination enough to do more research on them as a studio. Sorry. I definitely had my concerns when this announcement was made. I mean, for all I knew, this could be as good as the original Despicable Me, or it could be Hop. Just in case you needed to be reminded, yes, Illumination made Hop, and I will never let them live that down. And as it turns out, we'd have to wait a pretty long time to see the fruits of this partnership. From rumor to release, it took nearly 10 years for the Super Mario Bros. Movie to come out. Oh my goodness, I can only imagine development of this thing must have been stressful. And in that time, there was so much discourse and speculation surrounding the announcement that I just kind of had to move on from thinking about it after a while. I figured when it comes out, I'll see it, and then we'll see what happens. Since then, I've watched it quite a few times actually, on multiple devices, and even seen it in movie theaters twice, because I have a problem. This movie just fascinates me in a way that no other video game adaptation has. There's so many things that I really like about it, and a lot of things I feel it could have done a lot better. And seeing as we have the Super Mario Galaxy movie right around the corner, now seems like a really good time to revisit this film and talk about those really good things that it does, and how the Mario Galaxy movie might be able to improve on them. I'm going to format this a lot differently than I would a standard video. Basically, we're going to go through the entire film, and I'm just going to make little pit stops along the way as we go along when relevant topics come up. Like I said, this movie fascinates me, and there are so many things I want to talk about, so without further ado, let's go! Okay, I'm not going to do the accent anymore, I'm not good at it. This is my Mario movie review / retrospective. Wait, sorry, hang on. Before we begin, there is a reason I haven't talked about anything movie or TV related on this channel in a while. The main reason is that talking about any form of media on YouTube is basically grounds for demonetization. You can use trailers, clips, you can put a little border around your footage, it doesn't matter, your video gets demonetized. I ran multiple tests for this thing, and as it turns out, Universal Pictures is like the most egregious company when it comes to this kind of thing. So yeah, I am gonna have to do something about this. So you might be wondering, how does somebody like me plan to get around YouTube's obnoxious copyright detection system? So the movie starts us off with a minion, and thank goodness it is the only one. This was actually one of my biggest concerns when I heard Nintendo and Illumination were working together, but yeah, I guess Miyamoto would have been breathing down everyone's necks, so he probably wouldn't allow this past the initial logo. Now, the actual movie starts us off with Bowser, and this was actually a very interesting decision. So instead of seeing the Mario Brothers, we're introduced to the villain first. This is a pretty standard movie type thing, but I can appreciate it, especially because he's voiced by Jack Black. Now, I will have a lot of things to say about the celebrity casting of this movie later, but Jack Black might honestly be the best casting choice in the movie, if only for the fact that he actually voice acts. I'm sorry, I know that this is like a very obvious thing to bring up, but Jack, compared to the rest of the cast, actually feels like he's trying, and he gets a lot of moments to shine in here. I think introducing Bowser in the ice world was a really smart decision. We get to see him not only out of his element, but basically at his strongest, melting down the entire Penguin Castle. That was a pretty cool set piece. We get to see him established as this powerful villain right away, and I mean, if they're gonna introduce the villain first, you gotta give him a threatening presence. Now, the thing about Bowser as a character is that he's kind of meant to be threatening and a goofball at the same time. I think that's been proven pretty frequently throughout the games. So, especially with Jack's vocal range and the things he gets to do in this movie, I think they picked a pretty good balance, all things considered. And fortunately, this isn't the only time that Bowser gets to be genuinely threatening. They don't try to make like a sympathetic villain out of him or anything, which thank goodness that trope has been done to death over the last couple of years, so no, Bowser's a villain through and through in this, and I especially love how his eyes glow when he's angry. I would love to see that more in the actual games. Anyway, he gets the superstar, making that the big MacGuffin of the movie. Interesting choice. I guess he doesn't know it only lasts 30 seconds. And, oh, we're already on to the next scene, huh? Yeah, this is gonna come up a lot in the review, the pacing of this film. I never used to consider pacing when I was watching movies because, well, I was younger, but since I've become more of a film enthusiast, I've come to notice a lot more how pacing affects a movie. We'll be talking about that a lot later, but for now we might as well talk about the Mario Brothers. Chris Pratt is Mario.
Koopas.
Chris Pratt is Mario.
Koopas.
Chris Pratt is Mario. Chris Pratt is not Mario. I'm sorry, guys.
Koopas.
Look, I know that he is a super popular actor and he has played many great roles, but I just don't think Chris's voice works for this kind of film. He's just a guy. I know, that's really mean to say, but genuinely, I like Chris Pratt's acting for the most part. I loved him in Guardians of the Galaxy. I've loved him in quite a few other movies too. But when it comes to voice acting, he just sounds like a guy. I didn't like him as Garfield, and I don't like him as Mario here either. He's not trying. And when he does, it's to do a wahoo. That's pretty much it. Otherwise, he's not really trying to be much of anything. The only time that they show him trying to be a Mario for the most part is in this commercial, which, I mean, is cute and all, and then they bring up how he's using an accent, which, I mean, yeah, cute detail. But overall, I just don't really care for this version of him.
It's me! It's me!
He's animated nicely for sure, but the voice makes up a lot of this character, and Charles Martinet's shoes are pretty hard to fill. Overall, I honestly think this casting choice was kind of a mistake, but he does still get to do Mario things, so that sort of redeems him for me. Ironically, the most interesting part of Mario's character to me has nothing to do with him. It's his dynamic with Luigi that makes this movie. Yeah, Luigi is actually pretty good in this. Charlie Day, I don't know much about him to be honest, but I really do like him as Luigi in this. It feels like he's trying a little more because he's got a bit more vocal range going on, but the two of them have so much chemistry as brothers. I love the way that they bounce off each other. They look like they're just two guys having fun. I gotta appreciate that about them. They have a lot of mannerisms, they have ways of talking to each other and little nicknames like Mario calling Luigi Lou is fun. Stuff like that just makes their dynamic feel a lot more believable even though we don't get to see much of them together. And nowhere is that scene better than in this commercial. This was a very interesting cut to make. Going straight from Bowser to the Mario Brothers commercial was definitely a choice, but we do get to see how Mario and Luigi work off each other and why they're such a good team. While I feel like Chris Pratt's mannerisms are kind of distracting because I've heard him in so many voice roles at this point, Charlie Day's really trying as Luigi, and their dynamic is so strong that this gives us a better idea of why Mario's entire quest is driven by the determination to save his brother. You really get the feeling that these two care for each other, and I like that. But now we might as well actually start talking about the story of this thing. Mario and Luigi are plumbers in Brooklyn again. Yeah, I really wasn't expecting to see this plotline return from the Super Show, but I guess Miyamoto does like the idea of Mario just being some guy who ends up in a supernatural world and goes on a hero's journey, so yeah, sure, I don't mind seeing this again. It's very interesting that they're choosing to actually, like, commit to this for this universe, but I don't mind it, and it does have some payoff later on, so yeah, Mario and Luigi are plumbers in Brooklyn. It's just very interesting to see that again. So the brothers fail their first plumbing job because dog, and end up going back to their house in Brooklyn. And yeah, Mario and Luigi just have a normal family in this. I don't know if I'm ever gonna get used to this idea. It just feels so weird to me given that we haven't seen a lot of humans in the Mario universe that aren't Mario, Luigi, Peach, Daisy. It's pretty much it. But I do kind of like this. I wish we could have had more time to know their traits and personalities, maybe just a little bit. A few of them don't even speak. But I know the movie doesn't have time for this because we gotta keep moving, so again, talking about the pacing, but we'll come back to that. It is really nice to see them just kinda hanging out with each other, and I really kinda hope we get to see a little more of this dynamic in the second movie, although I know it's pretty unlikely because they're going to space and everything. Interesting choice to set up a couple of things here. One, Mario feeling small in a big world, and also disliking mushrooms. I'm guessing they wanted that to be an ironic thing. It's certainly an interesting choice, but yeah, these two setups actually do have payoffs later on, so I can appreciate that too. Although I do think it's weird how Mario's dad just seems to be completely oblivious to the fact that his kind of criticism is hurting Mario and Luigi's confidence in their new business. Could be a little supportive there, guys, even though I'm not sure how plumbing is considered a crazy dream. I mean, maybe plumbers make a lot of money in Brooklyn. I don't know, I'm not a plumber. Mario and Luigi get their big break to potentially save Brooklyn when a plumbing job is needed, and it is nice to see Mayor Pauline here. Huh, I guess she is the mayor of Brooklyn. That's interesting. And there's a really nice little touch here with the two brothers going down into the sewers and hearing the underground theme music. Yeah, this is where I get to talk about the musical references. I'm only gonna start here and I'll bring them up more as they go along, but I really like the soundtrack of this movie, so expect to hear more of that later. But no more time to check out Brooklyn. Now we gotta go to the Mushroom Kingdom. It's only been 15 to 20 minutes. The kids are getting bored, which I guess means it's time to introduce some new characters. So Mario and Luigi are split up and we meet Toad. Toad is fine. I don't know a single thing about Keegan-Michael Key, but he's alright. I guess his voice, at least the voice he's putting on, was the best way to translate Toad's voice into a movie without being actually annoying. Although I do think that if Mario and Luigi talked more like themselves a little bit, I don't think it would have been too grating, personally. Toad, on the other hand, yeah, this was probably for the best.
That's a little mushroom man talking to me.
They do try to do this weird dynamic thing with Mario and Toad where they're like best friends but not actually, and I'm not really sure why they did this. It doesn't feel like it goes anywhere. But moving on, we gotta talk about Luigi now. Gosh, this movie moves fast. I'm gonna say this right now, Luigi needed so much more screen time, and I'm really glad the Mario Galaxy movie seems to be doing something about that. I think part of that has to do with his arc being kind of basic. He's learning to be more brave. Okay, yeah, revolutionary, right? But it's fun. I like to see this character kind of learning that maybe he's been depending on Mario a little too much over the years, and that gives him a reason to really push forward and pull his weight. The area he lands in is pretty fitting too. This is basically World 8, and it really does fit for Luigi. This section that he lands in feels very reminiscent of Luigi's mansion. He's got a flashlight and everything. I'm pretty sure this was done on purpose. This movie is filled with references. I also find it an interesting choice to have the Dry Bones, Shy Guys, and Sniffets here in this area. It feels like they're the outcasts of Bowser's army that nobody actually likes, but I don't know, something about it's really funny to me. They try to do this horror element with them, and for the most part, I think it works. It also kind of showcases those creepier areas of the Mushroom Kingdom, combining the lava levels, the ghost houses, and the towers all together in one general Darklands area. I really like this for the most part. But this is also where Luigi gets kidnapped, which makes him the damsel in distress of this movie. Huh. I wonder how that's going to be affecting the dynamic. But now we're already back at the Mushroom Kingdom, and it's time to look at references. References everywhere. Hey, recognize that thing? Yes, you do. You better. This is a very interesting section because I feel like despite the fact it goes so fast, they try to pack in as much for Mario fans to enjoy as possible. The visuals, the music is constantly changing to the next song. It's all very impressive, even though I do kind of feel like it goes a little too fast. I really like the warp pipe system in this movie. I think the traffic lights are a super cool idea, and it makes this otherwise magical element of the universe feel like it could make a little bit of sense. This is interesting to me because when you're playing a game, you don't have time to question the logistics of why pipes take you to a random location or why blocks are floating in midair. So they try to explain a couple of little things like that in this movie to make the universe more approachable, and I appreciate that. Even though the blocks do just float and they kind of gloss over it. I don't know, I just think that's funny. Mario and Toad split up and Mario goes off to meet Peach and oh boy, this is where I get to talk about Peach. Peach, I really wanted to like Peach more in this, but I feel like they kind of fell into a familiar trope with her as many other characters in this genre do. She's a girl boss with only one setting. Now I know I'm starting to get into questionable territory here, but just hear me out, all right? I don't have a problem with Peach being capable. As a matter of fact, that's pretty game accurate nowadays. Peach has been shown to be pretty capable in many roles recently, from Mario plus Rabbids to the spin-offs to the RPGs. And now she's even appearing as a playable character in quite a few of the games. Peach can do a lot more, and considering she's basically already a blank slate anyway, this was a chance to do something really interesting with her. They don't do that in this. The problem to me is that Peach is so capable all the time that she can't just chill for the most part, and she doesn't really have a character outside of that. I know she grew up in the Mushroom Kingdom, that's how we're doing things in this universe, that's fine, but if anything, Peach feels more like a Daisy in this. She's always running about, super energetic, punching, fighting, kicking stuff all the time, and I mean, she's good at platforming because she grew up in the Mushroom Kingdom, sure, that's cool and everything, but like, give us other traits. What else does she do? What else is she interested in as a person? Why is she constantly just dragging Mario around on this adventure and occasionally bonking him around for physical comedy or making jokes at his expense? This is what I'm talking about. She has only one setting, and I feel like that completely squanders any potential that her character would have otherwise had. And that's when we get to the training montage. Mario's training montage frustrates me. And I think the main reason for that is because I can see an avenue where Peach got to do something more interesting as a character here. We've already established that in this universe, Mario's motivation isn't saving a princess or even having a crush on her. It's saving Luigi. He has more motivation and determination because he wants to save his brother. That's good. That's his motivation as a character. It works. So why isn't Peach helping more in this? The thing that bugs me the most is that Peach just kind of sits around after doing the training course perfectly, and Mario is left to just figure it out. But here's the thing. Aren't Nintendo games about playing together? This seems like a perfect opportunity for Peach to become a sister figure to Mario. I mean, Mario and Peach aren't allowed to be a couple anymore, apparently, so if you're not going to do that, why not have Peach show Mario the ropes? Show him how to be Mario, like a co-op level. That makes so much sense to me. Instead, she runs through the course perfectly once, has him eat a mushroom, tells him to just go figure it out. This really bothers me because I feel like it adds to this feeling that Peach only has one setting. She's kind and caring to the Toads, but when it comes to Mario, she's constantly just poking jokes at his expense. It gets tiring after a while. I want to believe that she cares in this situation, but it seems like the only thing she's having Mario do this training course for is to see if he's not gonna hold her back or something. And I feel like that completely destroys this dynamic that they're trying to give a little bit of chemistry to the two of them. I don't see it. I guess they do try to give her like a little chemistry with Mario later on, and we even get to see a tiny bit of backstory at one point, and all of these things are nice, but we could have seen so much more. There was so much more potential for Peach as a character here, and I feel like we never get to see it. That's something I really hope the Mario Galaxy movie improves on, because as of now, I don't see any dynamic with these two. It just isn't there yet. I think this line right when they're leaving the kingdom to go find the Kong army is pretty telling.
He's not important!
Peach saying he's not important is like the most backhanded thing you could say, and Mario just kind of takes it. Like, why was this in the movie? What does this add? What does this tell us about their dynamic? That she's just putting up with him? That Mario is insignificant? She's constantly calling him small? Stuff like this just like bothers me so much. Is this supposed to be funny? I'm not really laughing. Anyway, I'm ready to move on to the next subject at this point. Let's talk about the animation. It's honestly pretty good. The biggest issue I tend to have with Illumination's more recent movies is they seem to put a lot of bloom into every shot and try to make their films as quick and colorful and bright and flashy as possible, that it gets a bit distracting. I get it, Illumination is the choice for parents who just want to put something on when they don't want to watch something with their kids. But at the very least, I feel like this movie has a pretty good dynamic range. It never gets too bright or too dark, and the character animation is pretty good. I will say the facial animations are a little weird at times. I think I'm just not used to seeing Mario characters having so much squash and stretch to their faces. Normally it's their actual actions that we see a lot of dynamic fluid animation in. But when it comes to certain characters smiling a certain way or expressing a certain emotion, I don't know, some of them just weird me out a little bit, especially when Peach does this smile right here. Ugh, sorry. I don't know, something about that's just weird to me. As far as the landscapes go, man, this is genuinely a pretty movie at times. I know it's mostly because it's reference heavy and we get to see a lot of familiar locations like, ooh, I've been to that one in this game, but you know, if you're gonna do a reference, you might as well make it pretty, and I think they honestly have a lot of good locations in this, even though we get to see them for a very short amount of time. Oh boy, it's only a matter of time until I bring up the pacing again. Speaking of which, new scene, Bowser is singing. Yes, I don't hate Peaches. I think it was overplayed, but whatever, it's a Jack Black song, of course it was. It's obviously meant to be more of a Jack Black self-insert where he gets to sing, and I guess it is kind of funny making Bowser a somewhat musical villain, but I'm kind of glad he didn't sing more, honestly, because I think this is about all I can stand. We also get to see Bowser's dynamic with Kamek here, and for the most part, yeah, I think he's pretty fun. They've made him a Looney Tunes style lackey, I guess, so they do kind of work together, but for the most part, Bowser just seems to sort of put up with him, and I think that's kind of funny. Something about this dynamic just sort of works for me, and even though I don't know anything about Kamek's voice actor, I think he sounds pretty good. We also get to see Kamek's wand powers, which are mainly levitation, I guess. That's kind of cool. Would have been cool to see a little bit more, like maybe some of the stuff the Koopalings are known to do, but this is fun. I wouldn't mind seeing a boss fight like this in one of the games in the future, to be honest. They should really capitalize on that if they haven't thought about it already. We get a little face-off with Bowser and Luigi, even though it's pretty one-sided, and Luigi turns out to be the best wingman. I really love this line from him.
Do princesses find him attractive?
And Luigi gets imprisoned. Great. I really would have loved to see more of him in this film, but every time they cut back to the prison, I just kind of groan, partially because it's annoying to see Luigi doing nothing again, and also because of this Luma character. I do not care for him. I swear I've seen this child character saying incredibly dark things as a trope in like several animated movies now. I don't know if that's just me, but I don't find it funny, and his lines aren't even that good, so yeah. Moving on. So Mario, Peach, and Toad are off to go meet the Kong army, and okay, I can't wait to talk about this anymore. We need to discuss the music in this thing. Brian Tyler's soundtrack for this movie is amazing. It is perfectly orchestrated, it fits the tone no matter what is happening on screen, it has so many good references without being overbearing, it is perfect for a video game movie. Gosh, I wish we could have heard more of it. For those of you who don't know, in the official release of the soundtrack, you can hear a bunch of tracks that don't actually appear in the movie. This is occasionally common practice in a soundtrack, but there's an awful lot of music in this release that was missing from the final film. Guess why that was?
7?
Yup, there was an orchestration for every song that eventually got replaced with licensed music. And I'm sorry, if I was an artist and this many tracks were cut from my movie, I would be pissed, especially with how much work must have gone into this. It really shows up with Take On Me, but this has been a problem since the beginning of the film. I really do not care for any of this pop culture music. It was weird with the penguins, it was weird with the training montage, and it doesn't even make any sense here. Take On Me. Really? We're still doing this. Not to mention it just showed up in another SpongeBob movie. I didn't like it then, and I didn't like it here. In my opinion, the only part of the movie where this actually works was back in New York. In Brooklyn, we get No Sleep Till Brooklyn, and that pretty much works for the most part. Then we get that one overused opera song for comedy, I guess, and that was fine. Again, a little overused, but I can live with that. But once we get to the Mushroom Kingdom, give us the contrast of having fully orchestrated music for the entire thing. I like that. It fits Mario as a character. I love when Mario dives into orchestra and jazz and other genres. We don't need the pop culture music here. Take On Me doesn't even make sense for this scene. It was done for the memes, and that's it. I'm sorry, there's no other way to look at that. I highly encourage every Mario fan to buy the official soundtrack for this movie. It has so many good references, especially in the jungle world. I think the reason it hurts most here is because the track it got replaced by had so many good Donkey Kong references, and there's very little of that in the actual film. We get the DK rap, so why not more of his regular themes? I'm sorry, this will never not bother me, but oh man, we gotta move on here, because this is gonna upset me if I talk about it any longer. Honestly, the movie doesn't get much better when we get to the Kong army. Unfortunately, this plot point is completely negated later on, so I don't really have much to say about the Kong stuff, so I'm honestly gonna gloss over a lot of it. Cranky Kong kinda sucks in this. I know he's supposed to be cranky, that is fine, but something about this guy, maybe it's just his voice acting, vocal direction, the script he was given, but he doesn't just sound cranky, he sounds like he doesn't really want to be here. I don't know. Maybe it's just because his voice acting sounds grating to me personally, but I did not care for Cranky Kong in this. And then Donkey Kong is Seth Rogen for some reason. Oh boy, this might be the second worst casting choice. I don't hate him in this, I think he's perfectly fine, but I feel like they overdo it with him a little bit. If you told me 10 years ago that the guy who played Bob in Monsters vs. Aliens, and I think that laugh is the only reason I remember that movie to begin with, would eventually play Donkey Kong, I don't think I would have believed you. And yeah, he gets to do the laugh in this. Twice. You only get one Seth Rogen laugh per movie, man. I'm sorry, you're on thin ice right now. Donkey Kong in this is fine. His only trait really is wanting to prove himself to his dad. Yeah, DK with daddy issues. That's something I didn't think I'd see. And I don't think you're gonna be impressing this voice actor. But I will say the fight with him and Mario is pretty cool, as is the resulting rivalry. This is an interesting way to get that origin story into this movie, and the fight is pretty fun. It's basically a reference hybrid between the 3D Mario games and Smash Brothers, I suppose. Which is fun. It definitely would have been cool to see more of this, but the fight doesn't last very long. It is pretty cute how they worked Mario's "It's a Me" into this, though. I do have to appreciate that. This might be the only good slow-mo in the movie. Interesting choice to have Cat Mario be the power-up for this fight. Definitely feels like one of those marketable plushie things, but I guess it's cute at the very least. So Mario defeats DK and wins the Kong army, and that means it's time for a giant Mario Kart reference. I do like the idea of the Kongs being the one to manufacture the Mario Karts. That's certainly an interesting idea at the very least. And this is when I started to notice something interesting about how this movie does references. Some of them are pretty obvious and maybe a little flashy and in your face, but a lot of other ones are subtle. They actually respect a lot of Mario Kart's rules in this, I guess, like how you can throw items forward and backward, and how Mario uses drift boosts to get across certain ledges. Little things like that don't feel heavy-handed because the characters don't explain how any of this works. You could if you wanted the universe to make a little more sense, I guess, as much as this universe can make sense anyway, but it would also come across way too preachy in my opinion. Like, wow, Mario, if you turn your steering wheel this far, you'll do a drift. If you drift far enough, you might be able to boost over to that ledge.
Focus M.
Thank goodness they don't do anything like that in here. The Mario Karts just work like Mario Karts, and the people who have played one of those games are rewarded with that knowledge. We get a little bit of that aforementioned flirting between Mario and Peach. I guess this counts as flirting, even though it really doesn't go anywhere. Not sure why that was part of this. And then, ambush. Who's ready for the last 20 minutes of the movie to be completely pointless? Okay, yeah, this action set piece is fun, but like, what's the point? Rainbow Road gets destroyed, all the Kongs get captured, and now they're imprisoned with Luigi. I'm not really sure why they went this way. I mean, the Kongs don't even seem to fight back against the machines that take them, so like, are they a strong army or not? I guess they get to have a blue shell reference. That was cool. Although I'm not really sure why this Koopa Troopa has such a big stigma on destroying Mario. He seems more enthusiastic about it than Bowser does. And now that I think about it, yeah, Mario at this point in the movie hasn't even met Bowser yet. That's kind of weird. The only really other reason this scene exists is to give Mario a reason to save DK, which ends their rivalry, and then they get to work together at the end.
Your dad's right.
But other than that, this seems kind of pointless. I mean, the moment the Kong army is captured, Peach just gives up and goes back to the kingdom. So yeah, this feels like a bit of a roadblock in what otherwise has been a movie that's been moving forward pretty quickly.
He's not important!
I will say this next part of the movie does feel kind of inconsistent, I guess. Like, Toad says, "I won't let anyone hurt you," and then he immediately becomes a liability. He doesn't get to do anything. And neither does Peach. She's been built up this whole movie as this warrior princess, which is awesome, but the moment that Bowser threatens Toad, she just gives up and lets herself get kidnapped. What was the point of that? I don't know. It feels like they've been building up this character to be able to do something really great and stand up for herself, and like, that's cool. So why didn't they do that? I know she doesn't want Toad to get hurt and everything, but can't you like do something else to try to stop this? She just sort of gives up right then and there, and I know she has a little backup plan later on, but this just feels odd to me. Like everyone just suddenly briefly went out of character all at once. Anyway, Mario and DK escape Unagi, and I do think it is very funny that they just had to get that eel into this movie. And now I might as well talk about the action. Now, it goes without saying that this film does feel like a bit of a roller coaster at times, and that leads into the pacing too. It is constantly moving on to the next thing, and while it is definitely cool to see all of these action set pieces, it can be a little much at times. At the very least though, everything here, when it is moving very quickly, is super well choreographed. It doesn't feel like motion just for the sake of motion. From the fight scenes to the kart chases, everything is really well laid out and it feels intentional. And now, the wedding. I do find it fun that King Bob-omb was invited to this, and this little joke with him is probably the best visual gag in the movie. Oh, look at that, Peach is a girl boss again. Okay. This is one of the best music tracks in the whole film. It is constantly moving from reference to reference without feeling overbearing or trying too hard. It is so much fun, and it fits the fighting pretty well too. I love the use of items. I love the choreography of the actual platforming that they're doing. All of this is super cool. Although I will say Seth Rogen saying, "Yeah, this is fun!" Like, we get it. Yeah, you're playing Mario. You bought Odyssey, right? Oh man, there goes King Bob-omb. He didn't really last very long in this film, did he? Mario and Luigi are finally reunited, and yeah, you know what? This does feel pretty rewarding. If they had to make Luigi the damsel in distress of this film, it at the very least does feel good to have the brothers back together, and again, this familial bond is very believable. We don't really get to see this much outside of the Mario and Luigi games, but I do hope it comes up more often in the future games, and especially the next movie, because I like seeing Mario and Luigi happy to see each other. They used to kind of have a little camaraderie, like they would goof around with each other more in the games, but sometimes it felt like they were just poking at each other a lot. Now it honestly feels like they love each other. They're brothers. They do everything together. They drive each other nuts a little bit, but they care. And that comes across in this movie better than any other relationship here, so I can say at the very least, it feels deserved to have this moment with them. And now our cast is finally together. Mario, Luigi, Peach, Toad, and Donkey Kong are all in the same place, and it only took an hour and 10 minutes. Man, that is the weirdest thing. It's occurring to me how long a lot of the cast spends time apart in this movie. Bowser, of course, gets pissed by all of this and decides to destroy the Mushroom Kingdom anyway. And yeah, we're already on to another action set piece. The Bomberbill is cool, I guess, and Mario's way of defeating it is certainly interesting. Definitely brings up some thoughts about how the magic of the pipes actually works, but we don't really have any time to talk about that. This is pretty much just a convenient way to get us back to Brooklyn, although the animation here is pretty cool. Yeah, we're going back to Brooklyn, surprisingly enough. I was not expecting the movie to end there, but this makes for a very cool final set piece. Even though, yes, More action. Can you tell this is the finale of the film? Are your kids still awake? We're just checking. The finale of this movie is pretty good, honestly. It's got a lot of great action, maybe moves a little too fast, but I like how Mario gets his moment to think about why he's doing this to begin with and how he wants to have his little hero moment. That's cute, even though that's definitely not how TVs work, but whatever, I'm willing to look past that. Luigi finally gets to do something, and yeah, now his little arc is paid off. I'm really looking forward to seeing him being more active in the Galaxy movie. Although it is kind of weird how they make him invincible right away. He doesn't really do anything else until then, he just defends Mario. But then again, maybe that's the point. It almost feels like they're setting Luigi up to be the defense to Mario's offense, and yeah, I guess that does fit his character pretty well. I guess we'll have to see in the Galaxy movie if that's actually how they treat him, but if it is, I wouldn't mind that. We at last get to see the superstar used, and yeah, this is pretty cool. The animation is amazing, probably at its best. Every punch to Bowser feels impactful. I like how he just gets slammed around. Stuff like that is really cool to me. It feels earned, and even though the movie hasn't really done anything super significant up until now, it's definitely not doing anything original, getting to see Mario and Luigi fighting together was satisfying. I would have loved to see more of it in the movie, but I guess holding it off until the end is what's supposed to make it worth it, and yeah, I guess it works. I'd also like to point out that the absolute best music track in this movie was almost replaced by Van Halen's Jump. I am so glad they didn't do that. It would have been funny for 5 seconds, but this orchestral track is amazing. It combines so much of the soundtrack we've heard with the Starman theme. Oh, this finale is amazing. I love it so much. Bowser's defeated, he gets small mushroomed, so yeah, we have another payoff surprisingly enough, and that's the final battle.
No!
I know people have brought this up a lot, but I really appreciate Charles Martinet's role in this. Getting to see him say, "These are my boys," to quote-unquote the next Mario when this was his last speaking role in any Mario media, man, that's a pretty cool tribute, honestly. Probably the best tribute that Charles could have had. I don't care much for Chris Pratt, but I have to say, the new Mario is doing pretty well. Kevin Afghani is really improving as the new voice, and I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more of him, but hearing Charles say, "These are my boys," to the next people who are going off to play him in this new generation, that was pretty cool. And with that, the movie's basically over.
Told you I'd get you a pet turtle.
Not important!
We get one last shot of Mario and Luigi, who now live in the Mushroom Kingdom, and that was the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Wow. I feel like it went even faster on this rewatch. I swear this movie feels shorter every time I watch it. And I mean, that doesn't bother me per se. At the very least, it doesn't drag or anything, but it feels like it's missing out on being so much more. I guess if the worst thing I can really say about the Super Mario Bros. Movie is that I wish there had been more of it, I guess that does make the film a success. And hey, the Mario Galaxy movie was greenlit pretty quickly, so now we're going to get to see more of it. Overall, it's a fine film and everything, but I feel like it could have been so much more. I mean, yeah, we're getting a sequel and everything, but what about this movie when we were establishing these characters? Mario, Luigi, Peach, Donkey Kong, Toad. I mean, Peach is one note for the entire thing, Luigi spends most of his time away from the main cast, Mario and Bowser don't even meet until the end of the movie. I guess that's accurate to the games, but seriously, why couldn't we have more interactions of all these guys? In the few deleted scenes that we got to see from the movie when the DVD came out, these little bits of personality add so much. I feel like we could have had way more moments like this. I'm not sure if the film just kept getting cut down shorter and shorter during development, but it really does feel like it. And maybe they want to save more of these ideas for the Galaxy movie, and I'm hoping this new film is longer, but it's always going to be weird to look back on this movie and the characters' dynamics because, to be honest, a lot of them aren't established very strongly here. I want to see more of these characters. I want to see more of how their dynamics work with each other. Like, how do Peach and Mario interact more in this universe now that they are considered equals? Friends? I don't know what they're supposed to be considered. How is Mario and Bowser's rivalry going to be strengthened during this next movie? How about Mario and Luigi now that they're spending all their time together? I mean, I know Yoshi's going to be in this next film, but I'm just kind of hoping he doesn't get in the way of Mario and Luigi's interactions. I want to see more of them doing stuff together. I will also say that Mario Galaxy is a weird choice for the next movie. Why not Sunshine? Why not Odyssey? If you're going to adapt anything, I know that Mario's 40th anniversary has a big, heavy emphasis on Galaxy, but it just feels like we're leaving this world too soon. Why can't we see more of this world before leaving it? Why are we already going to space when we have all these locations that were brushed by in a montage? Yeah, I want to see the seaside world, the desert, the Yoshi jungle. I want to see more of these places and get to appreciate them, but we're already moving on. How is this going to affect a third movie? Can they even broaden the scope after this if we do get a third movie? I don't know. These are the questions that hover around in my mind, but again, I guess that means I'm more curious about the universe of the film, so it's hard to call the Super Mario Bros. Movie a failure if it has me asking this much about it. There's only one more thing I wanted to talk about with this movie, and that's the reception. I remember watching reviews when this thing came out, and I feel like I've definitely seen this before with video game adaptations. Fans absolutely loved the Super Mario Bros. Movie, while critics definitely did not. I'm going to make an analogy here for a second, and it's going to sound really weird out of pocket, but please, just bear with me a second. Have you ever seen a Christian movie? Okay, hear me out. As a person who is both a believer and an enthusiast of filmmaking, I can easily say that most Christian movies I have watched and enjoyed are a terrible introduction to the faith. Even with some of my favorites like Fireproof and Facing the Giants, I can totally see why critics pick these films apart. And something I've realized over the course of rewatching the Mario movie is that the reception has been largely the same. It was absolutely loved by people who understood these games and have invested into the medium for so long, but was completely panned by people who mainly review movies for a living. I think this analogy fits surprisingly well. If you bring a bunch of random people across the country to go see God's Not Dead, there's a good chance that at least half of them are going to really enjoy the film, and the other half are going to find the movie campy and maybe even indoctrinating. But these films are generally not meant to be an introduction to Christianity. The Bible is. In the same way, the Super Mario Bros. Movie, while it has certainly introduced some more people to the Mario franchise, is not meant to be the source material. The games are. The point I'm trying to make here is that while I'm sure there's going to be some critic discourse with the new Galaxy movie just like last time, I'm willing to at least bet the movie's going to be pretty fun. As a person who has invested in Mario since I was less than 10 years old, I have no doubt that I'm personally going to have a great time with this movie. Obviously, I am much more careful nowadays about how I invest my time into Nintendo, and especially how I monetarily support them, which honestly I'm not doing very much anymore. But if I have to choose between seeing more of a film's universe that I'm genuinely interested in, versus watching my local movie theater die out, yeah, I think I'm fine with taking the lesser of two evils here. I hope you've all enjoyed this little retrospective on the Mario movie, and if I don't see you on stream before then, have a great time at the Galaxy movie. I know I certainly will, and I'll have to bring some friends along, because that's what Mario's all about, isn't it? Sharing those platforming experiences with others, having a little couch co-op every now and then, and driving each other nuts. And I'm sure there will be criticisms, and maybe I'll even have a few of my own, but even if the critics never fully get what these movies are about, I know I sure do, and regardless of how I feel about Nintendo or Illumination, my feelings on Mario are unlikely to change anytime soon. Anyway though, I guess I better get myself ready to go see the movie myself, so until my next video, this is Ominator, signing off. See you later, Ominators, and don't forget, it's a me, a Mario. Your move, Chris.